yeah, Agora community activation. The first slide I just wanted to show because we wrote down the idea 2-3 years ago, sometimes longer. So maybe it's worth to have a look. What is the aim? So this activity aims at establishing the wider groups of stakeholders for co-design activities in the 10 pilot areas of the project, and at involving these groups in the validation of the desk operational analysis performed in T1. So we are very excited what you will present to Barbara, what kind of pilot areas you will have. And this is the main question that Natalie starts to answer: involvement of the right stakeholders. And we said in the application form that we want to involve knowledge institution, enterprises, government, and civil society. So what we see right now as one of the results, we have a broad range of stakeholders coming with different legal status, legal functioning, type of organization. And what we want to do with you right now, because it's not possible, as Natalie already said, we really appreciate to host you in Germany, which was foreseen for this second training seminar. So it's online. And I would like you to open in your browser the menti.com and enter the code 568091. So the question is, who was involved in the development of projects in the past, inside and outside of your organization? And as soon as you submit, it will appear here. So we have 40 participants. I hope we will have a good word cloud after this minute. Okay, so what we see, and this is what we already saw in the first stakeholder lists we got from you, that especially municipality, financial institution, consultants, NGO. So this is what we found already in your lists that you sent to Barbara, and thanks to Barbara that she gave us the possibility to have a look inside before T1 is ready. So we have reached 20. So if you remember the first question from the application form, we had knowledge institution, enterprises, civil society, and government, which should be involved. So on your either on your browser or on your mobile, you should see right now the question: what stakeholders should be involved in developing your projects? You can have several. Yes. Okay. Eight, 9. So we lost one. We are only 39 right now. We need 4 of you who will. Okay, so I think what we see right now is 16 of or 17 of 17 would like to involve the civil society and even knowledge institutions. So I would like to continue with a slide that you saw the last time. So it's not necessary to have all possible stakeholders involved in a planning process. that we have to make a distinction between formal and informal processes. And still the crucial question is, at what stage of a planning process should be which kind of stakeholders involved. So we have to talk about time in planning processes. So let's talk about time. I will show you an example of an area in Stuttgart. This is step 0 because it was not really part of the development of an area, because in Stuttgart, in the state capital, they established a sustainable brownfield management. So even the regional authority of Neckar-Alb, it's called Raum Plus there. Then we had step 1, project, small and medium-sized enterprise, develop small and medium-sized brownfields. And step 2, information and involvement of general public. So what was the target of the project Sustainable Brownfield Management in Stuttgart? First of all, getting an overview of existing brownfields. What are the characteristics of the brownfields? How are they distributed? Do you have first ideas on developing them? Can you develop strategies maybe for greater area or for the whole town? And the idea there was to do it on a platform. That means here you can see every red dot is an area, a brownfield area in Stuttgart. And the surrounding, you can see that this is an area where you find a lot of brownfields, and maybe it's worth to have a look not only on one brownfield, but to have a greater look on all of them. And if you have a look on the project partner, you can see it was the university that took part. You have the Kommunalentwicklung, which is an agency from the federal state, and you have the administration of the state capital of Stuttgart. And if you have a look more down here, you can see we have the urban planning department, which was involved, the environmental department, because quite often you have the problem with remediation of contaminated sites, and the business promotion or economic development department, which was involved in this step 0, which gave an overview of existing brownfields in Stuttgart. So what happened next? There was the project, and the target of this project was the identification of challenges and chances of areas that are not in the main focus of developers. Maybe you remember the last time I showed you a slide that you have so-called A sites where it's not a problem, where everybody benefits from developing them. And even here, same here it was, who has to be involved, what can be realized. And we had an area near the main station of the district of Feuerbach. So it's not the main station of Stuttgart, but main station, railway station of Feuerbach, of the district. And it's about 2 hectares, and it was very complex because there was a really hard contamination with chromate. And if you see again, project partner, universities, the administration, private companies, even with communication within planning specialists on. And one of the results was that you have several actors. You have private actors as owners and investors. You have public actors like interest groups or citizens, and you have local public authority, the administration, you have the politic, you have the agencies and departments. And the idea was to have this in the core as a point, as a center where you have all the information needed to develop the area and to involve all the actors, all the stakeholders that are needed. Means the first results, a coordinator is needed. You should take in account the surrounding. That means not only the area, but keep in mind there's a railway station, there are parks and places, water in the town, because in this area there was a river under the street, how to bring it back in the town, to think about the neighborhood and to combine several professions, building up interdisciplinarity. And as you see here, this is not the area itself, but it's the surrounding. That means how to get from there to the railway station and, for example, to use more water and having more landscape and urban planning aspects. And very important, the one-stop agencies and agency for investors. That means one face to the customer, because this is much easier than having to ask to 20 departments or persons if you want to have some information. Okay, so let's go back to the menti.com. I open the next slide, and the question is there. If you see right now, we had a lot of actors. What do you think in your surroundings? How do you estimate the readiness of actors to participate in Agora, the knowledge institution? Is it very strong or is it very weak? Same for enterprises, government, and for civil society. So we can, if you want to, you can continue, it's not a problem. But what is quite interesting here, that there is, it seems to be a very strong readiness of knowledge institutions to take part in such planning processes. And this could be a benefit. We had a question before, how and who should be involved in the chat. So maybe it's worth to get in contact with these knowledge institutions and to invite them to take part. The enterprises, it's not so bad. So we have 12 of you who said that there's more not so strong, more weak interest in taking part. So this could be an aspect where we have to look on within the project, how to how to get more detailed information and involving them. Government is nearly the middle, civil society same. It means we have some partners where very strong readiness is expected to that they will take part, that they will appreciate to be involved. But we also have partners where the civil society is not so really, seems not so really interested in taking part. So we will have a look on this within the project. Okay, so having done all this, the question is how to give the information and how to involve the general public. I give you here a hint for a website where you can find a video about the area and what happened there. And if you can see the masks, so this is quite actual. There is a presentation of all the ideas directly at the fence of the area, because there have been meanwhile several activities. If you can see here, partners again from the city of Stuttgart, from local agencies, but also private partners, especially in the context of remediation, because as I mentioned, there is a lot of contamination within this area. So we have a bit about how the public was on it. Yes, Hannah, this will be on the next slides. So the examples for involvement of stakeholders had been with a contest with several planning and architectural bureaus, your smaller groups where the results are discussed. There was an overview and responsibilities of projects in the neighborhood, and there had been discussion on concrete examples that had been presented by the teams, by the planning teams. And this is the question, Hannah, I think what you wanted to know, examples for involvement of general public. This was before Corona, so there had been visits on the site where with open doors where it was explained what kind of contamination you find there. There had been workshops for oops, I'm back. There had been workshops together with citizens, and as you can see, there was a platform where you can take part, where you can be informed, where you find some information. And so this could be a possibility to think about, especially in times of Corona, how to involve the public. So the last one right now, having heard all this, once again, what stakeholders should be involved in developing your project. So it's the same question as before, but meanwhile, maybe you changed your mind or not, which would be okay. Please start entering the answers. Okay, so it feels a little bit that we should involve more the private in further development of the projects. And this is something that we can continue to elaborate within Agora. That means if we have a look on the involvement of target groups according to the application form, we have the knowledge institutions, which were mentioned, higher education research, education training centers, professional associations, and academia. We have enterprises, like small and medium-sized enterprises. And as you can see, there was a number, that means minimum of 10 SMEs should be involved in the project for each pilot area. So this was written down, as I mentioned, 2 or 3 years ago, but we should keep in mind that maybe somebody is asking for this. And government, we have the local and regional public authorities, and we have the civil society, means interest groups, including NGOs, and we have to do some public events for the general public with more than 1,000 citizens to be reached. So what will be the next steps? And this is the last slide. The online survey with more specific information on stakeholder involvement. This would be a preparation to in-depth interviews and workshops. Unfortunately, virtual with each partner. This is really a pity because we would like to come to you, to the territorial partners, but we have to do it virtual. So we'll have setting up communities for each step of the project phase. And the same, we have to talk about time and planning processes, means we have to talk a little bit how will the territorial partners be involved, that not every 2 days another partner is coming to you and asking you, so maybe we can combine it a little bit, and we should do it within the next 2 or 3 weeks, organizing all this, because we can do the workshops. Hannah was asking, what do you mean by communities? Communities, in our opinion at this stage, is a group of stakeholders that has to be involved in this stage of the project phase.